Start. Hari Om, that's it. Jai Shri Ram. So, one thing we have to understand is when in the beginning people do the Vedic studies in the regular Veda Pathashala, then they go through different disciplines in the Vedic scriptures. And then they come to Mimamsa, which is all about rituals and how you do the rituals, a very specific and meticulous way you do it, not in a casual way, but knowing the meaning of each brick that is kept there for the Havan Kund, knowing what the oblation symbolizes, knowing what bhavana we have to have when we do the yajna. All this comes into it. So when they are doing the Veda Pathashala studies, the first thing that the Guru will say is draw a line, a horizontal line, and divide it into two parts. On the left, write karma, and on the right, you write bhavana. So karma here is not karma as in what happens when you do something and not that sort of thing. Karma here means an action. The procedure following the actions done following the procedure for a ritual is called karma. This comes later. So, bhavana is the other side, right side. It's a cultivation of your heart, mind, and spirit. Bhava means becoming. So, it's a subjective process and it is to arouse a mental state or an emotion before we do the practice. For example, you have a bhavana of surrender, a bhavana of anger, bhavana of devotion. So these are emotions that you bring up within yourself. So they say the left side karma, the right side bhavana, and both are important. Any amount of karma without the bhavana, it doesn't yield any results. Unless you have the bhavana, the feeling that you are bringing into the process itself of the yajna or whatever process you are doing, japa, anything, unless the bhavana is there, you do not get results. So both are very important. That is why there are some Vedic teachers today who will explain to you the meaning of what you are doing so that you can get the synchronized emotion with it. And the common purpose of this karma and the bhavana is to connect to a higher power. That's the purpose of doing this. Now, coming to the Rama Gita itself, it is not found in Valmiki Ramayana. It's found in two texts. One is the Ramcharitamanas by Tulsidas, and the other one is the Adhyatma Ramayana by sage Vedavyasa. Here it is found in the latter part of the Brahmanda Purana, and it is in the 64th chapter. Now, because it is in the Brahmanda Purana and because it is the Ramayana called Adhyatma by Vedavyasa, it is the most ancient and authoritative version of Lord Rama's sacred story, which is put in Anushtup Chhandas. It is a spiritual understanding of Sri Rama's incarnation. So we have to remember when we are reading the Ramayana or when we are listening or when we are having a common satsang, we are exchanging views. We have to look at it from a different idea, from a holistic view about what Rama is, to understand what Rama is, rather than seeing him as just another prince who used to be part of history. He goes to the forest, his wife is kidnapped. Instead of all this, we are going into the Adhyatma Ramayana or the essence of Sri Rama's incarnation. So in the words of Lord Shiva, it's called Mahadeva there, he says to Parvati, Rama is the condensation of pure consciousness. Rama is the condensation of pure consciousness who is supreme and transcendental self. He doesn't say he was prince of Ayodhya. He doesn't say he created the Rama Rajya. He gives the rasa, Rama rasa, which is the essence of what Rama is. And he says he has projected this entire universe by his power, Maya Shakti. He is omnipresent. That means he is everywhere. There is no space without him. He is omnipresent within all creation, but hidden from their vision as he is their innermost self. Like you can't see your innermost self, you can't see your heart unless a doctor opens it for you. So, unless a doctor opens it for you and you look at it through a different way of viewing, you won't see it inside you. Though he is omnipresent and he is in every inch of space. So he says, ignorant jivas superimpose their own ignorance and see him as involved in worldly entanglements like themselves. That is what Shiva says, because we often judge a character in a Purana by looking at it from our own point of view. So just this time, let us look at Rama Gita, not as a story, not as a myth, not as an archetype. And in various ways, we use our intellect to analyze using our logic and limited skills to understand a portion of what Sri Vedavyasa has given as an account of a conversation between Shiva and Parvati. So let us look at it from a very different angle altogether. He is within us, Rama is within us. And so we look at him as we are looking at ourselves without our material and our superficial intellect. Look at it from a deeper view. So the story is that Bharata, who has been asked to take over the kingdom of Ayodhya, when Sri Rama was going to be crowned the Yuvaraja, his father is made to send Sri Rama into exile and Bharata to become a king. He makes these two oaths just the day before Rama is to be coronated. And these are due to certain circumstances engineered by what we think is Kaikeyi, Bharata's mother, who is Rama's stepmother. Bharata tells the royal sage Vasishta. Vasishta is the guru of the Ikshavaku dynasty, and he tells him that Bharata says, I never wanted the kingdom. Don't thrust it upon me. It belongs to Rama. It doesn't belong to me, he says. And he said, if Rama has gone for whatever reason to the forest, I'm going to go there and persuade him to come back and take over the kingdom, for which he is the rightful heir. Now, what happens is the people of Ayodhya who have been mourning the fact that Rama went away, they then say, we will also come with you. So the citizens of Ayodhya, the Ayodhyavasis, the three queens, that is Rama's mother Kausalya, Bharata's mother Kaikeyi, and the other two brothers, Lakshmana and Shatrughna, their mother Sumitra, all of them accompany Bharata to the forest. And this is the setting in which the Rama Gita happens. So Tulsidas says that Rama, the supreme Brahman, churned the ocean of Bharata for 14 years continuously, so that he could get the nectar of bhakti out from him, from that ocean. And why does he want the nectar of bhakti from that ocean? So that it would be useful to the entire world, to share with the entire world this quality of bhakti, which he gets from the sacred heart of Bharata. So he puts Bharata through a great test, which we don't realize. And this great test is basically to see, and he knew the caliber that Bharata had. So he knew he would get that Amrit if he churns in that particular ocean. So in the story, then we say, Bharata is coming in front. The queens are at the back, along with them, the Ayodhyavasis, and the gurus are there. Bharata sees Rama from a little distance. And when he sees Rama from a little distance wearing ascetic clothes, he falls on the ground like a wooden stick. Many of these sentences have meanings. So we have to understand the meanings, very important to us also. They say, Dandavat Namaskar. Dandavat means like a stick. There is no bending. And when we, in India, when women do a namaskar, we bend at the hip and we put our heads. But here they are saying a Dandavat Namaskar means he just falls flat. So if you see some of the Shankaracharyas, they walk around with a stick at the end of which there's a small flag. That is to remind them that all the time be in a Dandavat Namaskar. That is, be completely surrendered to the divine. And that is what is called sannyas, samyak nyasa. You place at his feet everything that you have or don't have also. And there is no taking it back. That is the complete surrender. So Bharata then falls in that state and he lies down on the footprints of Sri Rama in the dust. As he's seeing Rama from a little distance. And he says, if I enter the ashram, I may pollute its purity. Because this ashram is the exclusive right of saints to enter. This is to show his humility. If the Lord has forgiven my mistakes, he will reach me and invite me inside. And he lies there. The tattva here is, there is a certain limit to religious efforts, as there is a limit to life also. So many people, all of us also, struggle to go on in the search for truth and divinity up to a certain stage. You cannot go with your individual consciousness beyond that stage. So then we struggle at that point. And when you reach that particular stage, the Almighty God himself runs towards you. Because the cosmic consciousness has to move towards you only when you come to a particular stage. Like you open the window half, the wind can't come in. You open it fully, the wind will rush inside. It's like that. So they say that when saints reach a particular stage, the Almighty God himself runs towards them. And you'll find this said by Krishna also to his wife Rukmani. He says, Rukmani, I run behind my devotees so that the dust of their feet will purify me. So you can see what height the divine has kept for his bhaktas. So this was the saintliness and steadfast penance reflected by Bharata. And any devotee with a selfless love and unconditional love gets the power, that is grace. You get the power to ascend to such spiritual heights to the extent that it compels the omniscient Bhagavan himself to run towards them. So don't worry when you're in sadhana, I'm doing it for so many days, I've been doing jap for so many days. If you have the bhavana and you do it patiently, knowing that where else can you go? You're already at his feet. So you go on continuing. At a certain time, suddenly he would have come towards you and you'll awaken to his presence. Not that the presence is not there. It is hidden because of our consciousness, our limited consciousness. So then they say that Rama got up, his bow, arrows, the quiver holding the arrows, and the uttariyam, his upper cloth, fall down. He got up and he embraced Bharata. This is how it is said. Now the tattva here is again the meaning. There is no mention of him running to Bharata. You got to see this. He just picks him up and you have to wonder why they say that he gets up and he picks up Bharata. And earlier sentences, Bharata was lying on the dust a little distance. The tattva here is, how does the worship approach the Lord? According to how the worshipper approaches the Lord will reciprocate. So does he come through worship, through meditation, through jnana, knowledge, through karma, action, or through selfless surrender? When the divine moves to shower his grace and blessings on somebody, who can measure his speed? As later we'll look at the speed itself. Where does he come from? We'll ask. Where did this come from? I see this vision. When does it come? How does he come? This is a great mystery. We cannot understand it through analysis and logic. So, just to see the speed, to get a relative idea, think of the Panchabhutas, the Akasha, space, air, fire, water, earth. Of these, if anybody asked you, which is the fastest, what would we say? Most of us would say air, the wind, because the wind blows here and in a few minutes it's already in the US. It's here and it is in Chennai. It is in Bangalore and it is in Mumbai. That is why we say the northeasterly winds are coming and so rain will come to Trivandrum and things like that predicted, because the wind comes and it doesn't come like a auto rickshaw or in a gentle way. It comes straight and it comes into every place. Now, speedier or faster than the wind, air, is the tattva, that is the light. Why? Because the light travels 1,086,000 miles per minute. That is why we see the sun, so it's miles and miles away, but we see the light. So the light is faster than the wind. And what is faster than the light? Faster than the light, they say, is Garuda. Garuda is the vehicle on which Vishnu moves around, the great eagle. So what does this Garuda mean? Garuda comes from the word Garut, which means swallowing. It means destroying. It also means a wing. So it's talking of the space that is luminous. It is self-reflecting, self-lit. So it's not as if you know, there is space. You can see the space inside us. You close your eyes, it's dark. You don't see anything. You walk into a dark room, the space is dark. You put on the light, the space becomes light. Now, this is not what they are talking about. They are talking about a particular type of space, which is seen by a bhakta, which is luminous by itself. Nothing needs to light it. It is as it is, it's luminous. That's its quality. This is what is called Garuda. And this is what takes a bhakta to the Lord. Now, even speedier than Garuda is the Sudarshan Chakra. The Sudarshan Chakra is the only weapon in the hand of any deity, and it's constantly spinning. It's not that he waits for an opportunity and then he says, now spin. It's constantly, that is, it's always ready, and it is the symbol of time. One thing is a symbol of time. And the other thing is that it is the keeper of the order in the cosmos. Time keeps that order. At one time, the sun rises here, at another time, the same time the sun rises or sets in the west. And it is, the sun doesn't make a difference, but the time is different. Then what is faster than Sudarshan Chakra? Our mind. Because the mind is so unfathomable. We always say, I know my mind, I can control my mind, I can restrain my mind. But the mind is not with us alone. The mind picks up thoughts and vibrations from everything around, from all over the universe. So when, as Swamiji says, Manaprasad, if you look at life in a positive way, within, before you can blink your eye, kshana, in a kshana, you will get all the positive thoughts from the universe flowing into that same mind, and then giving you a choice as to which to take. Same way, if you look at, if you have a negative thought, all the negative vibrations from the universe will immediately be gathered there. And if you insist on being negative, that negativity that you have, which becomes magnified 1,000,000 times with all the negative thoughts, can create a war anywhere in the world. It can create the destruction of a species. It can create a huge illness that comes and a whole section of people. So that is the speed of the human mind, the Jivatma. and the power. With the speed, the power also of each increases. And what is beyond beyond the power of that sort of an unfathomable mind, is the speed at which Paramatma comes running to a bhakta who calls. So you can imagine, before you can even think, please come, you just think of him and he's there. So this is what we have to understand. Now, we've been told that 4 things fell from Rama when he got up: his arrow, his quiver of quiver of arrows, the bow, and the Uttariyam. Here in this picture, they show the Uttariyam, but that's a picture that somebody has painted. So we have to understand what is the meaning behind all this. So again, you look at what does the Bhakta, what has he come with? The Bhakta here, Bharata, he has abandoned his religion, his wealth, his love, his freedom from life, and that is a bhakti that is called Paratantriya. There are 4 types of bhakti. Paratantriya is where God says something and you obey it. That is, you have to be in such synchronicity with the consciousness of the divine that you will act according to what he says without any doubt, without any hesitation, without any, the individual is not there to even think about it. You just do it. Sit there, you sit there. That is the quality that Bharata had. The other 3 brothers, Lakshmana, had what is called Kainkaryam. Kainkaryam comes from the word Kim Karomi in Sanskrit. Kim Karomi, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? Whatever I do, it's not enough. I want to do more. What can I do? What can I do? That's called Kainkaryam. That is service towards the Lord. Then you have Lakshmana, that is Lakshmana. Then you have Shatrughna. Shatrughna has Paratantriya Kashta. That is, he everything obeys, but not will not be different. This is how we are when you obey our Guru, because the Guru is with the Lord. That is why we say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. That is, the Guru's consciousness has, at that point of initiation, or at that point when the Guru glances at you, or at that particular point when he's giving you an Upadesha, he is at that point linked with the divine, and the divine is speaking through him to you. So it's not the person of the Guru. So when you go to see a Guru, don't look at him and say, oh, he's within that body or that form of that person you call the Guru is the Guru Tattva, which is a strong part of the divinity of Paramatma. So, this is what everything. And when the interpretation says that God, seeing such bhakta, is helpless and love-stricken, because normally a warrior will never abandon his weapons. So in any pictures you see the divine, he's always carrying weapons. Why? To remove our negativities. To help us, he is tuning in with the divine itself, with Paramatma, who at that moment is helpless to do anything, to command, or love-stricken himself. And he drops the weapons unknowingly. It just falls off. Then another interpretation is God always abandons his weapons when he's going to meet saints, because it's considered inappropriate to visit saints with your weapons. That is why when we go to a temple, if you have a mobile phone, they'll say, leave it outside. Why do they say that? Because if you had faith, you don't need a mobile phone inside the temple. You're going to see the divine. Taking the phone means that you don't have enough faith and you think you need it to communicate with the outside just in case there is some trouble. or to decide what you want to do. So when you have weapons of any sort, it can be even your tongue. It's a weapon. So people will say, stay in Mauna when you're in the temple. What do people do? And that goes for a church or a mosque or any place of worship. People will see their long lost friends at a temple and say, hey, I didn't see you so many days, but they're wearing such a lovely sari. Where did you get it from? And God, with his hands on his hips, is watching to see what you're looking at. So let the eyes, the ears, the mouth all be completely surrendered to the Lord, so that there is an ahimsa there. So let that be saintly, even if you don't feel it inside. Then the another interpretation giving it is that throwing a weapon down is a sign of defeat. When a warrior is defeated, he'll throw his weapons down. That's what you will see, even if you watch any of these thriller movies and you find some mafia man or somebody with a gun and he's caught, then they'll say, put down your weapons. So throwing the weapons down is a sign of defeat, and Rama was defeated by Bharata's bhakti. Such a devotion that was so unconditional that he had nothing to say about it. Then the quiver, that is the, you can see here in Rama's, on his back, there is the quiver containing the arrows. Now, in the Vedic tradition, everything is a vibration, every manifestation, every creation is a manifestation of the divine. But it's a different vibration with different combinations of the gunas. And therefore, some are inert, some move, and some are fast. Everything has a certain specificity. For example, this computer here has energy. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to talk to you. I have energy. The chair has energy. Otherwise, it would not be in a particular posture to hold me. It would just break down as metal or wood. So everything that has a vibration is alive. So some interpreters say this quiver also was alive. And a quiver usually is considered to be pure because it doesn't hold the arrows with hatred that I'm going to kill somebody, so let me hold these arrows, I hate him. No. It has no anger, but it uses the arrows to protect Dharma, and therefore it has to be pure. So it can also lie on the dust for God that we have to embrace Bharata. So you see, when we try to embrace the Lord, we always have this feeling of, I want what he will feel, is okay, I'm not good enough. All these are our way, remove that veil, that illusory part, Maya, when we are in ordinary looking at things, it's very hard for people. So here the interpreter says, Rama did not want any curtain between them. Because just as we are unable to raise the curtain of Maya, illusion, and Moha in our day-to-day life, the lesson is that if we reach the devotional stage that Bharata reached, we can always be sure that the benevolent kindness of God will come to help us in removing this curtain or illusion. That is what this Uttariyam means. So then Rama embraces Bharata, and observing this complete love between both the brothers, the Bhagavan and Bhakta went into a trance, and everybody who had assembled there, they also went into a meditative state because the vibrations were such. Then Tulasidas says, when even the gods, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, could not penetrate that trance of love, even gods could not fathom the unfathomable. He said, what can I, just a poet, explain it? So you've got to feel it inside. Now, at that point, standing at the back with Shatrugna and Rama. So, at that point, along with these, with who the person who helped across was a tribe. What would you call it? A low caste Vashta looks at this aboriginal tribal man called Guha, who is bowing to him from far from his waist, like namaskar, like that. And Vashishta returns that namaskar. But Rama is not very happy. Because you must remember, Rama, as Shiva says, is the transcendental consciousness, the supreme consciousness, which does not see a difference between a person and another person. In fact, even our own souls, Atmas, does not differentiate according to nationality, color, caste, creed, whether you believe in God, whether you don't believe in God, gender. There is no differentiation. Color, there is no differentiation at all, even in our own Atmas, in our souls. Now think of Paramatma. Would he have anything like that? And Rama holds Guha's hand and is chatting with him, asking him, how are you, and things like that. And Vasishta sees this from far. And suddenly he realized that he has made a mistake. He has given in to his conditioned mind at this point, because he was a highly self-realized soul. At that point, he missed his mark. So immediately he regrets and he comes towards Guha and he embraces him. And this has to come from inside. It should not be as a habit that you say, I must, then only I'm, doing the correct thing, not that way. It has to come from inside. You have to feel that God is in the other person and God is in me also. Now, not just people, you have to think of all animals and plants, all creation. Dharma, this is Dharma. What is Dharma? Dharma is nothing but Satyam in action. Satyam is the truth. That which is permanent, which was there yesterday, which is there today, and which will be there in the future and for all time. It is eternal. That is the truth. That is the only thing that is the truth. Everything else is transient. When that truth acts, it's called Dharma. So that was the first step that Rama made when Vasishta hugged Guha, a man of the caliber of a sage, hugging a tribal aborigine sort of person. When this happened, it was the first step towards the beginning or initiation of Ramarajya in Rama's mind, removing all differences. So we are here in this situation, and Rama looks at Bharata. Actually, Bharata would be dressed in ascetic robes, just as Rama would also be. So he looks at him and he says to Bharata, why have you come wearing these clothes, the Valkala clothes? You are supposed to be the king now, and you should have worn your royal jewelry. So then Bharata says, and this is where the conversation of the Rama Gita starts. Bharata says, according to the rites of succession as laid down by Shastra, the eldest son becomes the king unless he is physically disabled or psychologically disabled to handle the responsibility of the post. This was the Indian rule always. The Raja should be like Vishnu, and he has to be protective of his subjects. The kingdom did not belong to the king. He is just a trustee, and he has to be a good trustee. Because if there is any evil happening in the kingdom, it is because the king has not done his duty properly. And so he gets the karma for that. So here Bharata says, according to the rights of succession, he is quoting the legality of it. He says the eldest son, he becomes the king, and a younger brother, that is like he is, cannot become the king unless he is disabled. So then he goes on, he says, our father did what he should not have done. And so he has died of grief. Mother was an adharmi, that is, she did not follow dharma on both fronts, with her husband, King Dasharatha, and with the children, Rama and Bharata, because of her self-centeredness. He's talking like any of us would say. So he says, for the sake of all your ministers, just that much. We are to imply that he means who have been serving you for generations wisely and with loyalty, and whom you have always respected. And for my sake, your younger brother and Sishya. In those days, even today in many places, the elder brother learns the intricate aspects of administration and things, and he teaches the younger brother. So the elder brother becomes a guru for the younger brother. When the younger brother becomes a Sishya to the elder brother, he is in the position of a son, because a guru's disciple is the guru's son or daughter. It's called Sishya. So he says, for the sake of your ministers whom you respect, for my sake, your younger brother and Sishya, as the subjects, we need to respect these laws. My dad is so okay. As a subject, to respect. Don't drink, then people will say that you don't have any merit. You're not part of the group, that sort of thing. So he's saying sattva. Sattva means a person who is in harmony with wherever he is. So our father, he says, the king, he doesn't say our father, he says the king was a man rich in sattva. He was dignified, who was patient, and always observed sacred vows. For example, the sanctity of the position in which he was sitting, the dharma in life. How can I do something wrong for the sake of sovereignty? He's asking Bharata. Because you're saying, come. You can always say, anyway, Bharata called me, so I can go and sit. So he's saying, how can I do that? I'm disobeying the king. So he says, he's implying, is it not opportunism? Also, he implies this is not about you or I or Dasharatha or his wives or ministers. This is about Dharma. And so you'll see again and again how Rama talks about Dharma. When he says, our mother Kaikeyi, who was instrumental in sending Rama to the forest, he tells Bharata, who is Kaikeyi's direct son, he says, our mother Kaikeyi deserves the same respect that we show father. Just because somebody, any person, according to you, makes one mistake, do we forget all the good that they have done? He says. And he says, the king is our authority in this matter. It's not for you or for me to decide, you enjoy the kingdom and I will enjoy the forest for 14 years, he says. Standing by my word, my promise is greater than the imperishable Brahmatvam. You see, Rama was known for three things. One, arrow, one wife, one word. If he said, when he took Sita as his wife, he did not look at another woman. And there are tattvas behind that also. I'm the younger brother. This has been the tradition for centuries of the Ikshavaku kings, that when the elder brother is alive, the younger never rules. So he stands by that. He says, therefore, return and be the king. So sometimes they say that when the elder brother is finished with his jobs, his karma, then he would want to go into the forest away from everything that attracts him and he's attached to, so that he could explore his own inner self and move into a spiritual life. In such a situation, he will train the younger person who is to take over. And then after a period of time, he would leave him to run the kingdom and then he would go away. So when Rama hears then about his father's death, he mourns for it. He says, Lakshmana, you have lost a father. He doesn't say, I have lost a father. He says, Lakshmana, you have lost a father. The meaning is that while you are here like a father taking care of me, Lakshmana, I don't have a loss, but you have nobody to take care of you. So that's what he means. It's a side appreciation of the work that Lakshmana is doing and continuously caring for him. So then the family comes and everybody starts weeping about Sri Rama's dying, including Rama, and they are helped to go to the river to do the last rites for Dasharatha with the help of Sumantra, who is the chariot driver. This chariot driver called Sumantra is self-realized. He has a complete restraint over his senses. He's restrained and he's also very gentle and self-controlled. So he's the one who takes them and they go to do the ceremony. If a person, and sometimes we think, how can so and so get angry? How can a realized person get upset? How can a realized person get happy? And we often mistake detachment with indifference. Indifference means you don't care at all. Detachment means you do not wish for the fruits of what you get. Somebody says how wonderful you are. It doesn't mean anything to you. You know that they are projecting their happiness onto you. It means nothing. Somebody says how terrible you are. Again, it is that person projecting their feeling unhappy onto you. And it doesn't mean anything to you. When you see it from that point of view, you're not shaken whether somebody is praising you or blaming you. That is renunciation. That is detachment. Indifference means you don't care because you're very tamasic. Nothing matters to you. Only some little thing will matter. So this is what they're trying to say, that it blasts the myth that self-realized souls don't feel. If that were true, then you would not find the story of Jesus weeping for Martha's brother who had just died, Lazarus. You wouldn't find Ramakrishna Paramahamsa weeping for Vivekananda. So it is normal for self-realized persons to also feel emotion like anybody else. But the way they will handle it will be different. So at this point, Vasishta, the Guru, the queens and the people of Ayodhya all arrive there. They sit through the obsequies and then Bharata says to them, after Rama has hugged each of them and inquired about their welfare. Bharata continues. He says, for the sake of Ayodhya, he says, you have consoled my mother also, because Rama embraces each of the three mothers. And Kaikeyi is one of the mothers. And so he means that her guilt, whatever she had, because even he had said to her that what she did was adharma, her guilt, you have consoled her over it also. So for the sake of Ayodhya and this kingdom given to me, it's given to me, okay, I've taken it, now I'm returning it to you. You say you can't take it, I'm returning it to you, so you have to take it. And he says, I return it to you. And he gives an example. He says, supposing a person plants a seed and the seed becomes a tree, and the tree is filled with beautiful flowers, but it does not bear fruit. Then you would say it was a waste of planting that seed, because it doesn't serve the purpose for which it was planted, for the fruits. It can be as beautiful as you like, but it doesn't serve the purpose for which it was planted. And Bharata says, I am like that. I might have a lot of qualities you think I have, but I'm not good enough to handle a kingdom. Then he says, I do not have your power. And he says, you're supposed to protect us. He tells Rama, you're supposed to protect us, so don't instruct us now. Don't give us lessons in Dharma. Come back and be crowned king. And all the Ayodhyavasis over there, they said, yes, yes, well said, we all think the same. Then Rama talks about all manifestation. He says, in an ocean, many waves move. On that ocean, a wooden log is tossed from one side to another. Another log is tossed from the opposite side to this side. Tosses one log to one side and the other to the opposite side. One doesn't know where this log went or the other log went. And he says, it is thus that wife, son, children, house, property are. What about the husband-wife relationship? People are thinking. And he says, in the ocean of samsara, the waves are merit and demerit. Two atmas are brought together to work out a certain karma of a relationship. One day, time or death as a wave separates them. At that time, when they're separated, who is whose wife? Who is whose son? Who is the father? How many fathers have you had in different births? Is not the Supreme the father of the universe, Bharata? He asks. Therefore, do not be disturbed. Let us bow to Dharma. If I were to come, because you asked me to, I would be forsaking Dharma, he says. Then he says, our father, because of yajnas, dakshina to Brahmins, maintaining accounts, guarding his subjects, and all these qualities, his commitment to the here and now has been earned, and his consciousness has been raised when he shed his human frame. So he has now got an ethereal body. Let not grief and emotion overpower you. Pursue Dharma and also honor the words of the elders. So let us not compromise on integrity, Bharata, both you and I. Then Bharata says, because you are self-realized and you have equanimity, the ups and downs don't bother you because you know differently. You are cheerful and you have a great fortitude. And agreed, I cannot find fault with Dasharatha because he had a number of yajnas done for the welfare of people. He was aged and worthy of respect. But people say that all living beings become infatuated sometime or the other with something or the other. And when they are infatuated, moha, they make mistakes because of women. Often he is implying that Dasharatha, because he was infatuated with Kaikeyi, he agreed to what she wanted in making Bharata the king. Then he tells him also, you want to keep the king's word, but then also correct his transgression. This is Bharata's dharma. The father, supposing the father dies leaving a debt, the son will be honoring the father by paying that debt and not leaving the father as a debted soul, moving along. A son is one who mends the transgression of his father and thus takes away the sin of the father. Therefore, be a true son by going along with his command. You are passively countenancing an immoral act, he's telling Rama, by not acting on it. And you say he has said it. It's a passive way of going along with something that is wrong. Besides, as you say, there is no difference between being in the forest or on a throne. You say it's all the same, you're equanimous. For the wise and equanimous, it is all the same. In addition, it's a Kshatriya's dharma, they are Kshatriyas in Ramayana, to be coronated so that you have the authority and wherewithal to protect the people. So you have to be in that position. What you choose has a dubious fruit. That too, somewhere in the future, and it is hard. All right, he says, if you wish to pursue virtue, which follows hardship, undergo suffering while protecting the kingdom righteously. You don't have to sit in the forest and think you need to struggle and suffer. You can undergo the pain sitting in the kingdom and ruling over the subjects, because Rajya Dharma is not a paradise either. Then he says, wise people say that Grihastha, we have four forms of life. First, you start with Brahmacharya when you're a student, a Sishya. You are trying to handle karma, desire. You're trying to understand desire. Where does it come from? What do I go with? What do I restrain myself from? You're making the foundation of your body and mind for accepting Grihastha. Grihastha is then where you get material, artha. You gather property, or you gather people to you, or you gather well wishes from people. This gathering stage is called Grihastha. It's a householder life. And then after that, when you have satisfied yourself, then, and you have used that wealth that you have gathered wisely, it's not just for you to enjoy yourself alone. You also have fun, but see that people needy around you also are helped. This is using dharma along with artha. And then when you reach that point, you move into the forest, and there you're looking for vanaprastha. You're looking to understand what is sacred within you, putting away all the things that you are attached to and that which kept you a prisoner here, and exploring your own inner mind and your soul. And then you become a sannyasi and you are going towards moksha, if you go in this order. So Grihastha is considered to be a very sacred and auspicious life where you have a family, because it is Grihastha that supports all other ashrama. It is a householder who supports the brahmachari, the vanaprastha, and the sannyasi. So Grihastha, he says, is the noblest, because all others depend on the householder. When you know this, how do you abandon it? And with it, the opportunity it gives you to make the world a better place. So then he says, by taking back the kingdom, you will wipe out the bad name to your father, your mother Kaikeyi, and to me also, who adores you. Otherwise, I too will stay with you in the forest. There's something on this computer which says battery low. So if you give me a minute, I'll just call the owner of the computer so they can plug in something which will make it run and get charged. Just give me a minute, excuse me. So when he spoke like this, he says, by taking back the kingdom, you will wipe out the bad name of your family, your parents, your father. And there was something which said here, battery low. Nothing to do with this. It's not battery. Okay. But there's no battery. So then, otherwise, I too will stay with you in the forest. So when the Ayodhyavasis were sad and happy at the same time, they were sad because Rama is firm. At the same time, they were happy to see a firmness because a firm leader is a strong one. And a strong leader creates a sense of security in the subjects. So they had these mixed feelings. The priests, the citizens, his mother, all joined Bharata in imploring Rama to return. And Rama then refers to the context in which Dasharatha had given 2 boons to Kaikeyi, his wife, many years before all this happened, when she helps him in a battle. She was a warrior princess. And he had told her, ask for any 2 boons. So then she would say, okay, I'll ask you when I want it. Now I'm quite happy. I don't need anything. So it's like a blank check that he has given. Years later, when Rama is getting ready for his coronation, her maid, Kaikeyi's maid, talks to her and makes her feel insecure about Rama becoming king and her son Bharata being left out. And she tells the king, I have 2 boons. You gave it to me that time, so let me ask for it. Besides, Rama also says, when Kaikeyi married Dasharatha, Kaikeyi's father asked Dasharatha, I would like any child born of her to follow you. So he says the king had given it in a moment of happiness, and he says, all that you say is true, Bharata, but this being so, you have to exonerate the powerful king from the debt he owes to Kaikeyi. A son is called Putra because he saves the father from the hell called Put. That's why he's called Putra. Protect your father from the hell of untruth. Let us 4 sons together enable the king to adhere to truth. Now the king is not there, but his soul is there. Then comes another sage called Jabali. Jabali followed the Charvaka philosophy, school of life. Now there are many schools of philosophy in India, Astika and Nastika. Astika is the people who believed in the divine in different ways. And Nastika are the people who did not believe in God as the others believed in. So one of the schools of philosophy was called Charvaka. The Charvaka philosophy believed that whatever they saw, perceived directly, that was the truth. They don't want to go into imagination, or this could happen, that can happen, there is a soul. They said, we don't see a soul, we don't see God. We can see you, so we can follow what you say. That's the way they were. And so they would, like many people are today who don't believe in God, so we'll do the right thing. So the right thing is that we are born here, we see we have the opportunity, potential to become successful in life, and we'll become successful and enjoy ourselves. That's what it's all about. So Jabali was following the Charvaka system. Now you've got to remember that in the Vedic time, people could question, people should question teachers and philosophies. That was what was expected, because if you didn't question, you would never know the truth. You would go by your own idea of what they are telling you, not knowing that this is not what they are saying. So people were encouraged to question, and not just, they would call it as tarka, means debate. Vitarka means trying to know the truth. 2 people will debate. Kutarka means debate just for the sake of arguing. So they're talking of Vitarka, where the student can question. The student can tell the Guru, I don't see God. How do I feel? Then the Guru will guide him towards understanding it. So there was never a sense of the question of blasphemy in the Vedic tradition. Everybody had a right to their experience, a right to their opinion, because that was their level of consciousness. And nothing was said to be good or bad, and each one evolved according to his or her own consciousness. So Jabali comes, and his Charvaka, so he gives the spiritual temptation. He says, Rama, you know Dharma and Adharma. Everybody knows what is Dharma, what is Adharma. Every being comes alone into the world and leaves alone. After all, father, mother, home, wealth are all temporary. They are all temporary shelters on the way, like a chowl tree. The wise do not get attached to these. Dasharatha was nobody to you. At that period of time, he was your father, and he is gone now. The father only provides a sperm, and the sperm and ovum independently are retained by the mother on the nights that are favorable for conception. Dasharatha was nobody to you, and you are nobody to, neither are you related to him on a permanent basis. Dasharatha now has gone back to the Pancha Mahabhutas from which he came, the elements. Wise people have written in the Dharma Shastras, and in that they extol deeds that are like renouncing the home and going for meditation. That is said to be very good. Practicing sacrifices only, and they've said it not because it's necessarily right, but because they are trying to make you more generous and charitable. So it's for this purpose. So don't get tied up to the means without seeing the end. And then he said, why do you suffer because of all these philosophical ideologies? He's telling Rama, which have no substance. Because ideologies are only for the mind, so that the mind becomes trained to reach a higher level of consciousness. As you go into a higher level, the lower level is not important. So why do you get confused with all this? He says, get up, follow Bharata's advice and go and rule Ayodhya. Then Rama talks to Jabali, again Dharma. Oh Jabali, he says, you speak like an Arya. Arya means one who is qualified to be respected, honored, and worshipped. That is an Arya, not a person who comes from the north or the west or anything like that. In fact, Devi is called Arya. That's her name, the mother of the Shakti. So he says, you speak like an Arya, but your reasoning is flawed. So as to make a kingdom and all its pleasures available to me, you couch what is unwholesome in words which appear wholesome and dharmic, he says. In the same way that we sometimes use religion to justify anything, whatever we want. All wars, 3/4 of the wars in the world are because of religious justifications. Conduct alone makes a man honest or dishonest, Sri Rama says. Transgressing the bounds of propriety and established dharmic norms do not get recognition by the wise, by the jnani. Rama is telling Jabali. If I embrace adharma, clothed in the garb of spiritual righteousness, what sort of a model am I setting for the people who look for guidance? Because protection of subjects is not just protection of their person, their body and material possession, but protection of their soul. What does it profit a man, Jesus says, if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? This is what Sri Rama is saying. All right, since you say my father is nothing to me, then whose words or model should I follow? Not the Dharma Shastras, because those are relative. Do you see how confused people can be for lack of an inspiration or a model? People will then become licentious. What then happens to society and to the innocent people there? Then he says further, truthfulness alone is the way prescribed for kings. Truthfulness is the soul of a kingdom. The world is founded on truth. Sages and devas have also respected truth. Everything has its root in the truth. The Vedas, the austerities, sacrificial performances, meditations, all have truth as the foundation, nothing else. By our deeds alone, we become king. One becomes a king, one becomes a local chieftain, one goes to heaven, one goes to hell. Only by our deeds, not by where you are born and what wealth we have and what power we have and what people power that we have. So he's teaching Jabali. Neither from greed nor infatuation nor avidya, ignorance, should one violate the sanctity of one's promise, which is adharmic, with just a trace of virtue. There is an element of virtue, but it's not dharma. And he says, armed with truth, Tulasidas says, the such a truth, Rama could fight and kill Ravana, who could not be touched by armies of devatas. That the truth was what was his power. Then he says, man first wishes to do something sinful. You want to do something, you want to rob your neighbor. Then speaks of the intention to friends and associates. So what do they say? Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that. After all, he has enough. We don't have, so we should do. We can also give to some good people. So you think about it, you speak to your friends and associates it. And when they give you a go-ahead, then you perpetrate it with his body. So that is how adharma happens in thought, that is the mind, word by talking about it, and speech, which is the action, which makes it a full karma. Land, renown, glory, fortune undoubtedly woo a man devoted to the truth. So you can see when a person is devoted to the truth, they will have a lot of temptations. Many people will come and stand at their door. Anger will come, greed will come. They are vasanas. Everything comes because the ego is trying to pull you down, lest you should go up. So he says, when you have land, renown, glory, fortune, undoubtedly they woo a man devoted to the truth. The wise pursue truth alone. That is why in Patanjali, they say, do not, these are the siddhis, but don't run after the siddhis, because you will be invited by many celestial beings. What they're saying is that there are many powers that will say, okay, come and take us, we will do your bidding. You want to suddenly turn the hovel into a palace, just say it and it will happen. All great people before their enlightenment go through that. When Jesus was in the wilderness, the tempter came and said, you're hungry, you haven't eaten for 45 days. But you know, all you need is to look at the stones and wish that they will become bread. Why don't you make it and eat? Handle your hunger. Nobody is going without food because you take one slice of bread. So what does Jesus say? He says, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. What is that word? The word is the pranava. The pranava is the initial vibration. The subtle part of it becomes a part of prana, which keeps a person alive. So he's saying prana, which comes from the pranava shakti or the vibration, is what sustains a person, not the material that you eat. Then he says, having given my word of honor, how do I go back on it? With diet control, sense restraint, purity in body and mind, I propose to stay in the forest and discharge my duties, he says. So he says, Jabali, people who lived before you practiced action in conjunction with Vedic instruction. Giving up in marriage, sometimes we say, then somebody will come and feed your son. That's not why we are feeding somebody's son, because that is looking forward to the fruits. What will I get out of it? It's a very subtle sort of marketing. Do it for its own sake. Don't do it because it gets you something either in this world, or it says, okay, you may get nothing here, but you will go to heaven. Don't do it because you have to go to heaven also. You do it for the truth, because the truth is the divinity. The truth is Paramatma. So he says, The wise, the people who lived before you, practiced action in conjunction with Vedic instruction and for the sake of truth and not for rewards in this world or in the next. A man of truth should not even stand face to face with an unbeliever of truth. Why? Because the mind is so fickle, it can get tempted. So they say, move away if you find something is tempting you to go on the wrong way. So immediately Jabali apologizes. He said, I only wanted to, I discussed this with you only so that I was trying to bring out how righteous you are and how steady you are, just to show that. You see how he changes also there? We all say that, no, I said that only to make you look good. That sort of thing. So one has to be very, very careful when one is with Dharma and Satya. Then the Guru comes, Vasishta Guru. Now everybody has to obey their Guru. So Vasishta comes and he describes the genealogy of Rama from the creation of the world onwards for 25 generations. And he says, in no instance has a younger son ruled when the elder was alive. This is the tradition. So, according to the tradition, take charge of the kingdom. They wouldn't have done it unless there was something to it. So follow the tradition. Then he says, the parents procreate and bring forth the body of an individual. The guru gives them a spiritual body. And so the guru is superior to the parents. I am not only your guru, but your father's guru also, because he was a guru over many generations. He said, therefore, doing my bidding, if I tell you to do something, you will not incur any sin. You will not transgress dharma. You're doing what the guru asked you to do. And your guru is, and your father's guru. So he says, don't fail in your duty to your pious and aged mother who asks you to come back. Your subjects, your kinsmen, etc., also ask, discharge of duty to all of them. You will not fail dharma, because as your guru, I'm saying it. Bharata and his supplication also is there. So there is nothing that hinders your return. It's not as if Bharata is going to miss being king. So then Rama says, Bharata hears that, and Bharata spreads the grass on the ground, Dharma, and he lies down there, closes his eyes. He says, I will be without food and drink until Rama returns to Ayodhya. And Rama now is in a difficult dilemma, because here is a bhakta, not because he's Bharata, his brother. Here is the bhakta. And what does Bhagavan say to the bhakta who says, I will follow this dharma, I will not change? So he says, what have I done, oh Bharata, my darling? He says, oh, what have I done, Bharata, for you to sit at my door and to pressurize me to give up this terrible vow? So you give up your vow, he says, because he cannot see Bharata making a vow and not carrying it out. Now the Ayodhyavasis also said, Bharata, we know, speaks the right thing to everybody. Rama also abides by his word, so therefore we can't shake him. So Rama says to Bharata, listen to them, Bharata, and to me, break your resolve. And Bharata says, listen, everyone, if Rama is in the forest for 14 years, I too will remain in the forest, for I never wanted sovereignty. Now acquit the king of the charge of falsehood by ruling Ayodhya. He says, fulfill your part of the obligation. And all these sages applauded the brothers. Then Bharata begs Rama again. Rama says, no, you can very well protect the earth, leave alone Ayodhya, through your innate wisdom born of true humility. Whatever reason your mother had for getting it for you, you should not disrespect her. So Bharata then sits in meditation on Rama, and in that meditation, he visualizes the entire incarnation of Vishnu, who has come to the earth as Rama for the sake of a particular mission. And then he realizes that that mission is important. The whole picture is bigger, much bigger than his own personal individual desire. And so he realizes in that, he sees that incarnation and its mission, and he says, okay, I will go back. But he says, tries one last bit. He says, please come back. And Rama says, no, you can protect the kingdom. And then he says, okay, I will live outside the kingdom, living on fruits and nuts, just like Rama is. I'll wear the ascetic robes, just like Rama. I will follow brahmacharya, and I will not take the kingdom, but please give me your padukas, that is your footwear. He asks Rama, and you will see that the padukas have a great import in the Indian tradition. You take the padukas of your guru, and that means the vibrations of the guru are in the padukas. They are the closest to the guru because the guru has, wherever he has walked, the padukas have walked along with the guru and taken his vibrations. So people will go to the guru, get a paduka, and they will bring it to the house and they'll put it in the puja room, and it becomes a pratika, a symbol, an idol representing the guru and his vibrations. So the guru again is not a person who looks like in this color. You don't see him looking blue and with a flower on his head. You're talking to the guru tattva within the guru. That guru tattva is in this paduka. Let me take it and I will establish it on the where the kingdom is, on the place that the king sits. And he says, I will be its servant. And the thing is, he lived that way for 14 years. And whenever there was a doubt he had in mind, a dilemma in the administration, he would meditate before the padukas and he would get the answer in his mind as what was the dharmic thing to do. That happens when people sometimes who have great faith in a particular guru or in a particular devata, and you go to a temple and you're thinking of something and you want an answer, suddenly you will find that answer coming from out of you or somebody will tell you. Then we say, oh, wow, what a miracle. Not that it's a miracle or that it isn't. It means that you are so much in synchrony with that energy that you are worshipping, that divinity which you're worshipping, the energy of that is within you. You don't see it. So when your own mind says it, you say, oh, where did it come from? You don't realize it has come from the divine within you. So this is what Bharata did. And then he says, if you don't come back in 14 years, on such and such a date, I will annihilate myself. So it is agreed. And then they stay for 3-4 days there. And then Bharata, Shatrughna, the queen mothers, the gurus, the priests, all the people who had come from Ayodhya, they all decide, okay, let's go back because the matter has been settled. And here you will realize something happens, which is a very great tattva. When just as everybody was preparing to depart to Ayodhya, they're taking their bags, some were getting into the palanquins and things. A lady came to Rama with her eyes streaming with tears. She called Rama aside and she talked to him privately. So what does she say? She says, under a spell of delusion, my evil mind prompted me to obstruct your installation as a Yuvaraja. I beseech you to pardon me for this and the bad turn I did to you. This is Kaikeyi, the mother. You are truly Mahavishnu. I know that. She says now, the Supreme Spirit and Eternal Being, whose nature is not clear to anyone. This whole world is subject to your will and without freedom. Just as a puppeteer pulls the strings unseen and makes puppets dance, so too is this multiformed Maya, a dancer, manipulated by your will. I too was prompted by you as a part of your scheme for the fulfillment of the purpose of the Devatas. The purpose was to remove the negativity that Ravana was and help that soul to go back as one of the doorkeepers of Vishnu, as Jaya or Vijaya. Now alone I understand you to be the indwelling spirit of all, she says, beyond the understanding even of celestials. Save me, O infinite being, Lord and protector of the worlds. Please cut with the sword of your knowledge, Jnana, my bondage of attachment to sun, wealth, and worldly objects. I have taken refuge in you. When anybody takes refuge in Rama, immediately he becomes your protector. So Rama smiles and he tells her, what you have said just now is the exact truth. Words that came out of your mouth took shape under my prompting. Your choice of wounds were prompted by me for the attainment of the purpose of the Devatas. Therefore, you incur no sin. Return home in peace. Abandon your attachment for all worldly objects. Let your mind be constantly absorbed in my thought. Be wholeheartedly devoted to me. Soon you will gain liberation by following this way of life. View all beings alike. Don't say somebody is good, somebody is not good. No one is dear or inimical to me. For those who surrender to me, I respond by revealing myself. Those whose minds are deluded by Maya see me as a human being subject to happiness and grief of the worldly life. They do not know me in truth or in reality. Fortunately, he tells her, that enlightenment that liberates one from this transmigratory life has dawned on you. He's telling Kaikeyi. You've been fortunate that way. That, in other words, he's saying, my grace has come to you even before you asked for the boons, because I knew you were the person who could do it. Stay at home, attending to your duties, but remembering me always. This will save you from the bondage of hankering for the fruits that karma brings. So, hearing these words of Sri Rama, Kaikeyi was filled with wonder and joy. She circumambulated Sri Rama, prostrated before him, and he in his turn prostrates before Kaikeyi as the mother and also as a bhakta who has followed what he had wanted her to do, even though it brought her so much of ill fame and hate in those days. She did it. And she returned to the palace completely at peace. So this is the Rama Gita. We need to contemplate on this again and again and again so that we don't get confused when we have temptations coming to us. Even the best of us can fall at any point. We can fall because of our temptation that our mind brings to us. And on a rare occasion, when God makes you make the mistake because of a larger plan he has in mind. So let us not make a mistake and say, oh, it's God prompted me, so I was not responsible. You have the choice. You can take which you like. And keeping Sri Rama and the Dharma in mind, let us all try and live our lives with truth as our spiritual search. Jai Sri Ram.
Jai Sri Ram, Swamiji. It was a very beautiful satsang. Didn't want it to end. Didn't know how the time has passed. And I will now request anybody who has any questions to just raise their hands or put that on the chat box so that Swamiji can read and answer. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you so much.